you get bored traveling full-time? Is it lonely to travel full-time? Tune into this week's episode and I'll share my thoughts. Welcome to the How to Travel Full-Time podcast. I'm your host, Heather Markell. If you're dreaming of full-time travel or moving abroad, but stuck at the emotional, financial, and logistical challenges, this podcast is for you. I'll help you trade overwhelm for information that gets you from down and stuck to up and going. You can dream about the travel lifestyle, or you can live the travel lifestyle. If you're ready to live it, then let's jump in together. Welcome back. It's great to have you here, and I hope that if you've listened to my other episodes, you've found some valuable takeaways that will help you in your own journey to starting to travel full-time. Last week, I shared 4 of the biggest fears I had before even starting my own full-time travel journey. This week, I'm going to delve into 2 of the biggest what-if fears that I find a lot of people have when contemplating this lifestyle. Let's take the boredom one first. Will you be bored when you travel full-time? The answer is yes and no. So, intriguingly, boredom has been steadily increasing. If you Google, are people getting more bored, which I just did, you'll find a long list of articles that suggest that the digital age has made people more bored. The thing is, forgetting traveling full-time, you may find yourself bored with your job, especially if it's repetitive and doesn't challenge you. You could become bored with friendships and relationships. All of this boredom you're experiencing just in your daily life could be a part of the reason that you're thinking about traveling full-time, because you know that vacation travel is usually so exciting, so what if you just did that all the time? I think in reality, anything we do repeatedly will have an element of boredom, and that includes traveling full-time. I've been doing it for 7 years, and yes, there are moments when I'm bored. Now, the difference between real life boredom and travel life boredom is that in real life, when I got bored, I looked for distractions like shopping, drinking, dining out, hanging out with friends, having drinks with them, volunteering, taking vacations, whatever I could do. And it kind of felt like a never-ending cycle, like I had to go back to the job where I was kind of bored, and then I had to keep looking for more distractions, and it kind of felt like this overlay of boredom meets distraction. In travel life, when I get bored, I actually feel that that's when my adventure starts. It's the moment when I feel like I've done and seen everything a place has to offer, and I can start being more present to the local people and their customs. I start aimlessly walking around and discover those quirky streets and those unexpected, gorgeous landscapes. I have conversations with locals in a cafe, and I find new friends. As an example, I spent some time in Singapore. It's a small city-state you've probably heard of that's also a country. Now, 3 days in, I had done pretty much all of the main activities one does, and I'd seen all the things that most people want to do when they go there. So day 4 started out really boring. So I thought, what on earth am I going to do now? That's when I decided to just walk around aimlessly. It's how I discovered these fun ethnic areas that I'm sure I would have totally missed. And it's where I found those really dive cafeterias where the food was incredibly cheap and delicious, allowing me to live well within my budget and eat tasty food. I also found less touristy shops and neighborhoods that felt more like real life than just appealing to tourists. So my take on boredom is, yes, You're probably going to experience some boredom when you travel full time. And when you do, that's when the magic happens. You stop being a tourist and you start being an explorer. All right, let's move on to loneliness. Will you be lonely when you travel full time? Now, I've spent the bulk of my travels as a solo traveler. And what I found is that, like the boredom, yes, full-time travel can get lonely. And it's also somewhat up to you whether you decide to stay in that loneliness or seek companionship. I was amazed when I started my travels in Costa Rica. I'm pretty chatty, so whenever I would, eat out in some of those local mom and pop places, which are called sodas, I would often strike up a conversation with someone at the table next to me. And I got countless invitations to share a table with those people, which was lovely. And some of those conversations were a brief connection. We'd spend an hour just learning about each other, where we came from, what we were doing in Costa Rica. Some of them were other travelers like me. Some of them were on vacation. They were kind of all different ages. And other people, those conversations turned into friendships. So if I don't end up, though, connecting with someone at a table nearby, then I've also found that the waiter or waitress can often end up being a fun source of conversation as well. And that's why I like to do a blend of, mixing cooking for myself and eating in to save money, and also sometimes eating out so that I have a chance to meet other people. In terms of strategies to avoid loneliness, I find that when I cash in my hotel points, this can actually be some of the loneliest periods because, of course, most people staying in a nice hotel are on a business trip or they're with their family or friends. So I prefer to stay in fun, quirky boutique hotels, maybe get a room at a hostel because those usually lead to more connections. But you have to be willing to suspend any age expectations because people who are 20 years younger than you or 20 years older than you can make amazing travel companions just as much as someone your age. Now, I'll be making another episode on tips to make friends while traveling full-time, so stay tuned. If you're traveling solo, there are times that you may want to be alone, and you're going to end up finding yourself invited to join other people who want you to have company. So sometimes it's kind of funny, like you're actually trying to be by yourself and you're going to have a hard time doing it. There will be other times that you'll crave companionship and seek out other people. And that's when you may have to come out of your shell a little bit and make an effort to connect with others. But you know what? There's going to be a large chunk of time where you are just completely content to be on your own and focus on the world around you and the new discoveries that you're making each day. The solo traveler who's looking to reconnect with herself or himself, like someone that I mentioned, like a divorcee, or you've just gone through something, a big emotional change in your life, you may find this loneliness cathartic because this is where you rediscover the forgotten parts of yourselves. I know I certainly did. If you're traveling with someone, you're less likely to feel lonely, of course. But I know some couples have met other people on, say, a tour, and they get into conversations and find that the people they meet there who are not full-time travelers had a tough time understanding their lifestyle choice. And those can be moments when you realize you're feeling a little bit like an outsider. But of course, you're in luck because you're traveling with someone that totally gets you. My experience overall with boredom and loneliness and the travel lifestyle is that yes, they both do happen. But neither one needs to ruin the experience for you. Instead, if you're willing to consider each one a trigger for you to gain awareness that you need to change something, and make one change, like walk home a different way, seek out a community you can participate in, have a meal outside instead of eating in alone, that's where you can change your experience. so much for listening to the How to Travel Full-Time podcast. If you loved it, please leave a review and let us know. Make sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes. Check out the show notes for important resources related to this episode, and come visit us at travellifestylecoach.com to learn more great information. If you're ready to get started with the lifestyle, go to moneyfortravelbootcamp.com, where you can learn all the strategies to afford this amazing lifestyle. Talk to you next week.